Hello, everyone. I am overjoyed to be with you today to talk about our upcoming new offering of in-person services. So I hope that you will put your questions in the chat and make those available so that we can get all of our questions answered as we figure out this new world of being a multi-platform church. So I wanted to go over, until everyone gets here, I'm just going to kind of go over the basic plans that we have in place. And like I said, please feel free to add your questions or comments to the chat, and we will address those as we come up. So one of the first questions you may have is, why on earth are we returning to in-person services in the midst of this uptick in the Delta variant? We have worked so hard throughout this pandemic to provide the safest services we have to our congregation, to our staff, to all of the vulnerable in our community. And one of the things that we've discovered as we've been listening to folks and paying attention to what's going on within our congregation is the fact that we are in this dilemma of how do we stay safe physically and keep one another safe physically, and also balance the mental health toll that this pandemic has brought on our congregation. So in doing so, the board, the long range planning committee, and I met last week, in the midst of this Delta variant surge to say, is it possible for us to come back on August 15th to in-person worship in a safe way? And where we are different than we were in March 2020 is that we have a lot more information about how this virus spreads and what we can do to mitigate risk. And we realize that for some of you, the risk that we are mitigating will just never be enough because you are immunocompromised, you have health concerns, you have unvaccinated children, whatever the case may be. We realize that what we can offer at this moment will not work for necessarily everyone. And so we are trying to do the both and approach by moving into multi-platform services. And what that means is we will remain on our live stream. It will just look a little different than it has been through the pandemic, because I will be in the pulpit live and you will be seeing it on our regular YouTube channel so that you can view it from home. And there are lots of reasons why you may choose to stay at home, and we are a church of no judgment in that regard. We just hope that you'll be with us in some form. So the offer to in-person services is to say that we recognize there are some accessibility needs that we are meeting by offering the live stream. We have heard that over and over throughout this pandemic, that those who are hard of hearing, or those who are caregivers for vulnerable people, or those who have other health issues, that we have made our church more accessible by offering the live stream. And so that is definitely staying around. We are getting technology installed in our sanctuary to make that a permanent feature of our church. We also recognize that there is accessibility that cannot be met online. And that is, there are folks who have been struggling with loneliness throughout this pandemic, with the isolation, with other mental health concerns, that just need to physically be around other people. And so we are making this in-person service possible to be accessible to those folks as well. And some of you are just ready to be back in person, and that's fine as well. But we do want to make sure that we are not a part of this Delta variant surge. And so we will be putting some things into place to make sure that we can keep everyone safe. And the first most important thing that we are requiring is that everyone will be masked, vaccinated or not. And that is a really strong feeling among, the medical staff on our teams, the research that we have read and understood. Our long range planning committee and our board have done so much research throughout this pandemic as to how we can keep one another safe. and everyone wearing masks is one of those pieces. So we will have some spares if you forget yours, but please plan on wearing your mask throughout being inside of our building at church, and throughout your interactions, especially throughout this surge, because we really need to keep the vulnerable safe. There are immunocompromised folks among us. There are folks who cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons. And we have all of the children under age 12 who are not eligible to be vaccinated, who will be at church with us as well. And to be that beloved community, we really have to all chip in to be a part of that community effort to keep each other safe and healthy. So that is the one of the biggest options. We're also going to have bracelets available, and I'm sorry I forgot to grab these to have them available, but you know, the rubber bracelets that were made strong or live strong, they were made famous during that time period of life. We will have red, yellow, and green silicone bracelets available for you to share with others without talking what your comfort level is in being back in the building. And so red means, you know, I am trying this out and I'm really nervous. So feel free to say hi to me, but I'm not going to have extended conversations. The yellow says, I'm nervous about being here, but I'm open to having some conversations. And the green says, I'm feeling really comfortable, and also we're reserving the green for those folks who are, especially who are vaccinated. And that was a decision among the team that we were having, that we wanted to make sure that we could say that as well. So you could be vaccinated and still wear a red or yellow bracelet, because that is a comfort level that you are displaying there. But for the green, we ask that the green folks make sure they are vaccinated before they wear a green band. And those are, again, just an option. It's one of those things that came out of this pandemic that a lot of weddings and large gatherings are doing just to help make everyone feel comfortable. It's one of those accessibility things. So I invite you to wear a bracelet if you'd like. They'll be on the glass welcome table when you come in the church. For the first couple weeks when we come back, we're also going to have disposable name tags for everyone. I know some of you already have a church-made name tag, but we have a lot of new folks that will be welcoming back to church. And so we want everyone to feel welcome and included. And so to do that, we're going to have disposable name tags for everyone to do that. So when you come into the sanctuary, just be aware that the ushers will be helping with all of the things they do. The only new thing will be we will not be passing out hymnals, because there will not be any congregational singing initially when we come back. So we are still talking with our musicians and with our medical teams about the safety of music at all in the service, but we know that will at least be masked for those of you who are nervous about that. So, and we're definitely going to keep that very, very small at the beginning. It will not be the whole choir initially, but we are hoping that we can ramp that back up as things get safer so that we can hear our whole choir again, because we really do miss them. So feel free to ask your questions in the comments. I'm just going to keep talking about what our plans are, and feel free to ask me if you have a specific question. So our service, for those of you who are new to our congregation, starts at 10 a.m. and we ring a bell in the narthex about 5 till 10 a.m. to just encourage those who are milling about and going to the restroom that we're about to start. So that's what you'll hear the bell about. We do have all of the seats in the sanctuary because we have no other place to store them. So we just ask that you do your part in, keeping distance from folks, or at least getting their consent before sitting right next to them. So we will have our service. For accessibility reasons at this time, again, we're trying to really keep that a focus as we consider all of these different platforms and how we're going to do that. And one of those accessibility things is that some folks need to be able to read my lips or read the lips of the person speaking. And so because of that, during speaking parts, we will have plexiglass, but we will not be masked during speaking in front of the congregation so that folks can read lips who need to read lips. And so we will have the plexiglass option there to keep you safe. And also the distance from the pulpit to the first seats is also enough to minimize that droplet spread. So we will be doing that as well. So I hope that's helpful to everyone. We also have hand sanitizing stations. We'll have 2 at the sanctuary doors, 1 at the top of the stairs and 1 at the bottom of the stairs for those folks who are going downstairs for religious education events. So I encourage you to use those. And for children and youth, we are planning to continue with their program. Our children and youth have been meeting outdoors throughout the pandemic because we saw very early that putting them on more screens and more video time just wasn't meeting their developmental needs. And so they are continuing with the program, but we anticipate, hopefully, having a lot of our children and youth back in the building. And so one of the things we've done is we require vaccinations for all of our childcare staff and adult volunteers that help with the youth and children. And those folks will remain masked as well as the children and youth. So we are hoping to mitigate risk in that way as well. Snack time will be outside so that we can again use the help of the elements to help us with that. And so if you are new and you are bringing children to our service, our children come up during the Time for All Ages, which is a multi-generational story time, and they sit up front so that they can see if there's a demonstration or whatever. And then after the Time for All Ages, they go with the childcare staff downstairs to play on the playground, have an outdoor snack, and then they start their religious education program when church lets out between 11 and 11:15. That allows our adult volunteers who have volunteered to be teachers to actually enjoy all of the service and not have to cut out early as well. So our adult volunteers who teach get to see the whole service, have a few minutes for coffee hour, and then can get down to their room to teach religious education. We are still in need of religious education teachers, and we have a new director of Lifespan Faith Development who is wonderful. And also, she doesn't know any of you because this is so new to her. You all are new to her. So it's really important, if you have been considering teaching RE, if you are willing to teach RE, even for just the semester, she would really appreciate your help. So we do have that call out there as well. And you can email me or comment in the chat and I'll make sure we get that information to her. So we also have, folks that were asking for, being greeters, being ushers, working the sound booth, working the live stream. We're going to need all of those folks to help out starting August 15th. And so if you can help out, I'm putting in the comment chat our sign up sheet, and it's bit.ly UUCB open, and that is if you can volunteer for in-person services. We also need folks, knowing that some folks will remain watching on YouTube and doing the chat there, that we need folks to monitor the chat. We need folks to volunteer for the Zoom coffee hour because, again, we don't want to leave our online community behind. We want to have everyone come back together in this multi-platform experience. Our Adult Enrichment Committee is meeting and talking about all of the offerings that they will be offering this fall. And I'm glad to say that they have made a commitment to be sure that we have in-person offerings as well as virtual offerings as well. We can also look at some things being hybrid, but I think there's also just an importance in having some things that are just online and things that are just in person as well, because it can be a little distracting to have to do both. So we will have those offerings as well. And then the other link I'm adding in the chat is our link to sign up to attend services. So one of the other decisions made by our church leaders is that in coming back in person, in realizing all the science that is going on right now, we need to have some kind of contact tracing or way to get a hold of those folks who have attended in case we do have an exposure. And so we're asking folks to sign up at bit.ly, bit.ly/UUCB RSVP. And that you can sign up for a service to attend in person. And we are limiting that to 75 persons initially, because again, we want to mitigate risk as much as we can. I am so excited to see all of you. I can't tell you how excited I am to see you. But we have to minimize risk however we can. So I encourage you to not sign up for all 4 weeks initially, because other folks need the opportunity to be able to come. But I will say that if we have a strong, 75 person sign up for a few weeks in a row, then we will start to institute our second service, which is the piece I haven't been discussing, because that was the other big piece. How strong that in-person desire is. And then we will add the second service in September if we're getting to those numbers and we want to have more people attend, because that is the goal. And we have a great plan for the second service as well. And hi, David. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you're enjoying the live conversation. Anyone have any questions about what our plans are for the return to in-person services, as well as continuing the live stream? Feel free to add them to the comments and I will address them. I'm just going to make sure I haven't missed anything else. Any questions, any comments, any happy thoughts? And I know there's a little bit of a lag here, so I won't, I'll just keep going, and then if I see something pop up. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you are new to our congregation and have young children, that our religious education time goes until 12:15. And so we invite you to stick around and chat with people, to attend adult education programs, to volunteer for something. The committee meetings often happen during that hour as well. So there's a lot for you to do as well. So thank you, Marianne. We really have tried to make the great compromise here, which is figuring out how to be accessible to all of our folks and to meet as many needs as possible as we come back together, because we do miss you all greatly and also want to be very safe. Gil has a question. Will the ushers have to cross-check the RSVP list with the people coming in? Gil, I don't necessarily think that to be important. We recognize that there will be a little bit of a discrepancy between the list and who actually attends. The RSVP is intended to just kind of minimize the folks in the room and also allow us to plan for how many people we're expecting on a Sunday. So on the Sign Up Genius, it limits itself at 75. And so we're hoping that folks will sign up for the next week. If the week that they're trying to sign up for is full, that they'll just sign up to come to the next week. So I'm hoping that that will kind of mitigate things. We also have to be accessible to those in our congregation that cannot use Sign Up Genius and may need to just attend anyway. So thank you for the question. I really think our plan is reflective of current science. We're not as concerned with, touching surfaces, because that is a very low risk of things. We are not offering food or drink when we come back together initially, because that is just a reason to take the masks off, and the masks are one of the greatest protections we have right now. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to get vaccinated. It is the best way to protect yourself from the seriousness of this illness, but we're wearing masks to protect other people, because science has shown us, and the last couple of weeks have shown us for sure, that vaccinated folks can still get this virus and also spread it. And so one study I read showed that the virus transmission, the vaccine protects against 40% of transmission. So there's still 60% of that that the virus can still be transmitted by vaccinated persons. So that's why we're taking these precautions. So, any other questions or thoughts about coming back together? I know it's a lot, and also I think it's really necessary. I know that a lot of folks throughout this pandemic have really struggled with the isolation, and we have really been focused on keeping folks safe. We don't want to be one of those churches in the news that had a gigantic outbreak because we were not preparing. So there is some risk in coming back together. We have to recognize that. We have to accept that if we're signing up to attend. And also we can mitigate that risk as much as possible by taking some certain precautions. So I hope that it will work well for all of us to do that. So unless there are any further questions, I will let you back to your day. And if you are just coming into the live time, I'll be putting this up on YouTube as soon as I can download and upload it, so you're able to watch it again and hear about all of the details that we are putting into place to keep you safe if you choose to attend the in-person option for our services. And again, we are working very hard to ensure that our live stream continues, so that those of you who aren't ready or live far away or are still caring for others or have those accessibility needs, all of those folks are still able to participate in our services. And we can't wait to have you continue to participate in that way. So with that, I will leave you to your day. Thank you so much for your time. And again, watch the whole video on our YouTube channel, UU Church of Birmingham. Have a wonderful afternoon.